welcome to Daily Dose Radio, a 5-minute devotional podcast studying the Psalms verse by verse, broadcast from the ever-beautiful Sharonville, Ohio, on the sunny side of Cincinnati. Hey there, friends, welcome to Daily Dose Radio. Here in the Bible Bistro, we promote sustainable Bible study. That's right, Bible study that will get you through the rest of the week. As my grandma used to say, it'll stick to your ribs. So I never really understood that. She'd say something about some food that she was cooking. It was so good it'd stick to your ribs, and that's what you needed. And especially in the wintertime, you wanted something that was warm and it would stick to your ribs. So I'm just going to say, in the honor of my grandma, this is Bible study that'll stick to your ribs. It's good for you. Today we're looking at Psalm 127. Today and all this week at Psalm 127. This is verse 1 today. And Psalm 127, again, is in the Ascent Psalms. But this is a unique one because this one comes with someone's name. So this is not an orphanic Ascent Psalm. This actually tells us that it was written by Solomon. 124 was written by David, and 131 is also written by David. We'll see that one coming up. But this one, written by or to Solomon. Actually, in the King James Version, it says a song of decrees for Solomon. It could be a song of decrees to Solomon or by Solomon. So it just depends on how you read the little preposition that's there. But there's a lot of good stuff here, a lot of things we can imagine. It is very Solomonic in that you have Solomon's favorite word, vain. He loves that word. He loves it in Proverbs. He loves it in Ecclesiastes. Vanity of vanity. Oh, the vanity of things, he says there in Ecclesiastes chapter 1. All is vanity. His word vanity dominates the first two verses. But then we also have his name used, beloved. You'll notice there in the beloved of the Lord, I think it's verse 3. In verse 2, the end of verse 2, he giveth his beloved sleep. You remember that the name beloved was given to him after his birth, and that very word is used here in verse 2. Some ancient commentators actually have said that this was a psalm that David wrote after he gave Solomon the charge to build the temple. David's on his deathbed, and he is dying, and he tells Solomon about the work that he has left him to do, and he writes this psalm as an encouragement for Solomon. This is also could be written by the very hand of Solomon, in that he is using the word vain so often and actually uses his name. So maybe he is talking about the building of the temple. Some have also said, Origen, for example, believes that this was written after the Babylonian exile when the prophets Haggai and Zechariah were active, and this psalm was written to encourage the builders of the temple. They had come to reestablish worship, and they're building the temple. And of course, Haggai and Zechariah were all about the rebuilding of the temple. So there's lots of options here for us. Let me read verse 1. I'm about to run out of time. I better read it. Except the Lord build the house, they labor in vain that build it. Except the Lord keep the city, the watchman waketh but in vain. So we have the vanity of personal labor here described. And you'll notice that we're still on our way to Zion because the city is mentioned. The Lord keeps the city. That's none other than Zion or Jerusalem. The heavenly Jerusalem, of course, for us because we're on our way to that heavenly city. And the Lord is keeping the church that he is building. I'll talk more about that tomorrow as we look at verse 2. I hope you'll join me then on Daily Dose Radio. Thanks for listening to Daily Dose Radio. I'm David Smith. The music today has been performed by the Bluegrass Experiment. Thanks again for listening. I'll see you next time on Daily Dose Radio.